Hi everyone, a very good evening. You're watching The Money Show on ET now in our Rise with India Primetime segment. I'm Mubina Kapasi and the show is dedicated all to your money. As we approach the last 1 week of New Year's, that's the 31st of December, we thought it'll be a good time to take a look at what exactly has worked, what hasn't worked in the year gone by. We're going to explore one such theme, and that's active and passive funds. This time around, it looks like passive funds seem to have won the year because 50% of the active funds have beaten the benchmark. That's a low percentage according to me. That's what we'll be discussing. What should you choose, passive or active funds? What's the ideal way to judge your mutual funds? Also, Dhirendra Kumar of Value Research will be telling us about his outlook for the mutual fund industry in 2020. And finally, NEFT services now available 24/7. In fact, with effect from Jan 2020, you won't even have to pay any NEFT charges. But what are the precautions you should take before you get all trigger happy? That's what we'll be discussing later on the show. But the very first topic that we have for you on The Money Show is that debate that has been raging for, I think, the last couple of years has intensified as well. That's active versus passive funds. The key difference is that passive fund managers essentially track an index and change the fund composition according to the changes in the index. So basically speaking, the returns that you'll get on the index are exactly what you'll get on the passive fund that you own. For an active fund, things get a little different because the active fund manager tries, as the name suggests, actively to beat the benchmark and hence a bit more expensive as well to own an active fund if you look at the expense ratio versus a passive fund. Now in 2019, the passive fund managers have certainly done very well. Almost a 15% return on most of the ETFs that you can see of 2019. There are active fund outperformers as well, however, inconsistent and mind you, very, very varied. So while the Axis guys have done well, look at the blue chip and the long-term equity fund, you have the Aditya Birla pack, the Aditya Birla Sun Life pack that's not exactly done very well. So what exactly is the verdict then on this battle between active and passive funds? I have with me Mr. P.V. Subramaniam joining us right here in the ET Now studios. Mr. Subramaniam, I think 2019 was a year when a lot of people started questioning that, why are we paying our active fund managers that little bit of extra management fee or the higher expense ratio if at the end of the day they're just going to tell you, oh, the market was down and hence, the fund as well has underperformed.
Yeah, but see, look at it this way. Let's say a kid starts investing at the age of 3. The father starts investing and the kid lives till the age of 100. So you're talking about 100 years investing. A few years, the index fund will do better than your fund, and some years your fund will do better than the index fund. What has happened in the last year is a few shares have done well, like Reliance, HDFC, Infosys, which are very heavyweights, in the index. When these funds do well, it's obvious that the index funds will do well, and those funds like say Axis, if they were overweight on these companies which did well, it is obvious that Axis fund has done better than the index. Going forward, what will happen in 2020, 2021, 2022 is difficult to say. If you honestly believe in the index, you should go and put all your money in the MSCI World Index, where maybe India is 1.5%.
Yeah.
Right, then you should be putting money in the US, in France and UK and Japan and all those which are bigger markets. So either you believe in indexing and therefore you completely go index, or you say no, I believe in indexing in India, which means in the world index you're just 1%. Right. So what will happen is it's likely that you pick up a few large cap funds and an index fund, because I don't think anybody has a conviction to go completely into the index. Moreover, when you see people investing even 5,000 rupees, they look for 5 funds of 1,000 rupees. Very few people would say, okay, I want to invest 10 lakhs in equity a month, let me put 10 lakhs in an index fund. It doesn't happen in India. People will look for 3-4 funds, nahi kuch aur batao, people need variety. So I don't think India is a great indexing market, but yes, it makes sense to index because there has been no, entry load is already not there. So if you see historically over a very long period of time, it is index funds which have beaten the other funds, because earlier you used to have entry load, then you had exit load. If you remove all the loads, I think index funds have done well, but I don't think we are a market of just indexing. So largely people should put money in a multi-cap fund which puts say 60-70% in a large cap fund, 20% in a medium cap, and 10% in a small cap. A fund like that, if you want just one fund to fill it, fit it, forget it kind of a thing, yes, that makes sense. Otherwise, index fund can be a part of your portfolio. Yes, it can. Maybe 20% of the funds that you put will be in an index fund. I don't see Indians putting more than that in an index fund. Maybe institutional investors, but not retail investors.
So you don't advise retail investors to have more than 20% in an index fund?
That's what I see it happening. But see,
Okay.
the question is, if I know that the person is very disciplined and will not waver and is very clear that I want to touch this money only after 20 years, so therefore I'll remain in the index, for him it makes sense. But we are not like that. We will do a program in 2020 and say this year large cap funds have 72 funds have beaten the index, so should we come back? So again, people will be tempted, they will do something. If there is no monkeying, yes. But if you have a good fund manager, if you know there is a good fund manager, you have a good advisor and he can create some alpha for you, why not stick to him? Provided the alpha that he creates is less than the fees that he charges.
All right. Now, the other point that again we did notice was that 50% of the active funds actually underperformed the benchmarks. So firstly, how closely should a retail investor even be looking at that? Or is it just another parameter that you throw at your fund manager's face that, okay, why have you not performed as well?
Actually, between what the fund investor should do and what he does, there is a huge gap. Largely, what should a person do? He should look at his goals, and all those goals which are achievable at between 8 to 12%, perhaps that is what he will achieve with all his investing genius. If he's got goals which he needs 18% return and 17% return, he has to downsize his goals. It's not going to achieve. The market is not going to give him 18% just because he needs it, right? So he has to look at it whether he is able to, with his investment in an index fund or in a passive fund or even in a debt fund or in an equity fund, whether he is able to achieve his goals. Once you are able to achieve your goals, it doesn't really matter. Don't worry about alpha on a monthly basis and yearly basis. You don't understand how it is happening. And you will just exit saying, oh, he's not performing well. And after you exit, he'll suddenly give a 60% return or things like that. And then you'll say, oh, why did I exit? So you can't time the market, except that you can't time the market and be in good funds. I mean, could be large cap, mid cap, small cap, but have a mix.
Okay. All right. The reason why we want to also discuss is because of the expense ratio bit, because obviously, like we said, in active funds, the return comes to you after deducting all the expenses that are involved. And because it's an active fund, the manager as well will be taking perhaps a bit more money. So how would you as well advise investors to look at such things closely? How important is the expense ratio for them?
Actually, if you ask me, the biggest thing that I worry about is the asset allocation. Okay. Because a person will do all this and out of about 15 lakhs that he can invest in a year, about 1 lakh he'll put into equities. It doesn't help at all. If he's young, maybe he's under 30 years of age, he should be putting something like 70-80% in equity. Does he do that? That is more important to me than whether he's trying to save a little 2 paise here or a 3 paise there. That's not really so important. And does he really understand all this? Does he know that, a good time to be entering something like a focused fund, which is an industry specific fund, like a pharma fund or an infrastructure fund, is exactly when it has 3 years of terrible performance. That may be a great time to be entered. Does he do all that? If he's just going to stick around, then I think one big large cap fund with 60% in large cap and 30% in mid cap and 10% in small cap should work for him.
Okay. We do have ETFs that have actually caught the attention of a lot of investors, because many people say that, oh, you just invest in a Nifty 50 index fund and a liquid fund and you're sorted, So would you advise that when you say 20% of your money of your portfolio should be in an index fund, would you advise having more than one index fund? Because see, at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense to have two Nifty 50 index funds.
No, not more than you can have a large cap index fund and a mid cap index fund, or maybe one index fund which is 50% large cap and 50% mid cap and one fund. That is also possible. So any such one fund should be enough. Putting into 2-3 funds, no, it doesn't make any sense, because you have enough liquidity from a retail investor point of view. Maybe if you have 20 crores, 30 crores wanting exit on a day, may be difficult. But if you are going to exit for 5 lakhs and 10 lakhs in a day, it should not be very difficult. All of them have some reasonable liquidity. So yes, we are, ETF is definitely a good product. That is only for people who already have a demat account, who know when to buy, when to sell, and actively doing that. Yes, I don't see very many long-term investors just buying an ETF and not doing anything about it.
Okay. Now, in your experience, I'm assuming more than a decade, more than 15 odd years, how many times have you actually seen such a situation? I mean, I'm just trying to assuage any investors out there who believe that, oh my God, my mutual fund value has tanked and I invested 2 years ago and my small cap fund the NAV is tanked a lot. So, in your, experience, how many times have you seen a situation like what we saw in 2019, where you've seen passive funds still do a bit more better, be a bit more consistent than an active fund?
See, passive funds are new, right? They are
Okay.
not very old. So historically that. So I don't think people are worried about that. People are worried that I have put 20 lakhs, it has become 15 lakhs. I have put 20 lakhs, it has become 12 lakhs. I don't think, see, it's not that, people are not saying, oh, my son failed in 2 subjects, but it's okay. My neighbor's son failed in 4 subjects. That doesn't bother them. It doesn't bother that the neighbor's son failed in 4 subjects. उनका बच्चा 2 सब्जेक्ट में फेल हो गया is what is bothering them. I don't think people are worried too much about comparative performance. That is more a media story and more institutional. A fund manager will be able to talk to his institutional investors and say, look, the benchmark did 6% and I did 8%. I don't think the common man actually looks for absolute returns, especially when the markets are doing badly. When the markets are doing badly, he'll say, Arey, at least 8% I should get. But when he gets 40% or 30% one year, that year he will not come and say, I want only 8%, take back the remaining. He will not do that. So it's a very difficult situation for him. But yeah, but I don't think people compare themselves to the index and things like that. They just call up the advisor, क्या लगता है कभी सुधरेगा 6 महीने में सुधरेगा हाँ ठीक है. I don't think they bother too much about daily monitoring what's happening, and they can't also.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, on that note, I would like to invite all our viewers as well. If you have any questions or queries for Mrs. Subramaniam on your portfolio, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them are still in holiday mode, maybe out of town. But yeah, this is your chance to just get any questions or queries you may be having. So ensure that you call us right now. 24990300 is the number. Let's take on board our very first query. It's coming in from Praveen Bangar. He says, I'm 33 years old and my investment horizon is 15 to 20 years. The following are his investments. There's an SIP and an SBI Magnum Multi-Cap Fund Direct Plan, 1,000 rupees. Then an SBI Focused Equity Fund as well, 1,000 rupees. HDFC Small Cap Fund, 1,000 rupees. And then he puts in another 5,000 per month in PPF, one of the few people I know who actually invest in PPF on a monthly basis, and 3,000 rupees per month in an NPS. He is investing for 2 goals, his child's education as well as marriage. And he would also like a suggestion of a mutual fund from the top 5 AMCs. And a term and a health plan that you would recommend, because I don't think he has insurance anywhere in his portfolio right now. So firstly, only 3 mutual funds, multi-cap, focused equity and small cap. Mrs. Subramaniam, is this the right mixture? And I'm sure you'd want him to increase the number of funds as well.
Actually, he needs to increase his number of funds simply because he's got no large cap fund.
Yeah.
Right. So first of all, he needs a large cap fund. So what I was to suggest was a Nippon large cap fund, where maybe you should put about 5,000 rupees and he should stop putting these 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Doesn't make sense. So maybe he continues these funds, but next step should be putting bigger amounts. Now take a typical case. He's 33 years of age. I am sure he has voluntary PF. He's putting in PPF. He's putting in NPS. He's putting 3,000 per month in equity, and he's putting at least 8,000 in debt-oriented instruments. I'm assuming even in NPS, he must be going more debt-oriented and less equity-oriented. His own provident fund again is debt. That is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter whether he puts in an index fund or just in a large cap fund. He has to increase his equity asset allocation. So maybe you should just shut down maybe you should put only 1,000 per month in PPF, and he should make it 4,000 rupees plus additional amount that he has and put it into a large cap fund, which I said was a Nippon large cap fund, and he should use that money for his children's education, children's marriage, etc. Doesn't have to put into a separate fund. Where should he take term insurance? He should take term insurance from the cheapest house which he is comfortable with. Since he is 33, he should take it for another 27 years till he is 60, or maybe 25 years when he is 58, till his date of retirement. How should he buy a medical insurance? He should go through an agent, because medical insurance is far more complicated. Term insurance, he should buy it online, absolutely no doubt about it. because it will save him some money. Buying medical insurance online does not save you money, and you don't really understand, because you can end up paying a lot of premium, whereas you should be taking a base policy, a top up, and a super top up. This is a little more difficult and complicated to understand. He should go through an agent. Term insurance, go buy online, buy it from the cheapest company, buy it for 22 years.
The term insurances don't differ much.
Term
actually,
insurance don't
company to
differ much, and it means the same thing. If you die, the family will get money. There is nothing hidden in that. However you die, you commit suicide after 1 year, your family will still get paid. So it doesn't matter. It's not a complicated product. Whereas medical insurance far more complicated. What will pay? How much they will pay? 1% of the value is the limit per day for bed charges. It's a complicated product. Go to an agent, because it doesn't. You don't really save money by trying to buy it directly. So why don't you go through an agent, understand, and then buy the policy? Don't try buying it directly. I go through an agent, and I think it's worthwhile.
Okay. Yeah, a plain vanilla term insurance is something that literally everybody should have in their portfolio. For a health insurance, it's best to consider, getting in some professional help over there. Okay, well, I think we've got a very first, caller coming in today. Ravi Chandran from Chennai is joining us on the phone line. Hi, Ravi Chandran. Good evening. What's your question?
Good evening. I'm calling from Chennai.
Hi, Ravi Chandran. Tell me. Go ahead with your question.
So, okay. I just want to know about the ETF.
Okay.
I don't think any ETF is declaring any dividend. In the case of CPSE or CPSE ETF.
So you've already subscribed to the CPSE ETF?
Yes, I have done
the
it.
Bharat Twin. Okay. All right. And unfortunately, across the many tranches, it's not exactly performing either very well. So, Ravi Chandran, just to understand, do you want an asset that will generate monthly income for you, like a dividend option? Is that right?
No, it's not like that actually.
Okay.
I have invested in various stocks, everything.
Okay.
I just want to know, because I'm not seeing any of the ETF is declaring any dividend.
Okay. So how does it work?
ETF
Mr.
doesn't declare any dividend. Even if it's a bond ETF, you will not get any interest. The appreciation will happen on a day-to-day basis. So when many of the companies may go off, when they declare a dividend, the dividend is all added back. So yes, your ETF value will go up, but you will not get any dividend. The structure is such that you will not get any dividend.
Okay, Ravi Chandran, you have a follow-up question?
No. If it is not declaring dividend, what happened to the cash dividend they are receiving from various companies which they are holding?
Which will again get reinvested by the ETF into the same shares.
In the same ratio to.
But when you are in a growth option in a mutual fund, what happens? The money comes to them and they keep investing it. That's all. And when they pay a dividend, it is sometimes when they don't know what to do with the money and they don't wish to reinvest, they give you a dividend. It's got nothing to do with the dividend that they receive.
Thank you. This is the thing I require. Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad we were able to clarify that matter for you. The concept of the ETF as such is that it will not be paying you any dividend. It'll just be reinvested back and it'll be reflecting in your NAV as well. Okay, I think we have one more question from Ambar from New Delhi. Do we have Ambar on the phone line with us? Okay, no, we've not been able to yet connect with Ambar, so we'll wait by for that. Meantime, let me take on board an email query that we've received from Sridharan Arukavil. Sridharan writes, please name a few debt funds where I can deposit a part of my retirement savings for drawing monthly income through STP. Okay, I think Sridharan means SWP. In how many such funds I should deposit? How much amount I should deposit for drawing a monthly 40,000 rupees per month? And he's not mentioned in how long does he want to start withdrawing the money, and that's a key part of information that he's left out. But let's assume that he's a young guy, and he's got some time on himself, just to make your process easy, I suppose.
No, he said 1 or 3 years.
I think he's written, can I start drawing immediately or start withdrawal after 1 or 3 years? Okay, so assuming that he's going to retire in 1-3 years. So yeah, Mr. Subramanian.
So, first of all, I would have liked it if he had given the amounts. So, first thing that a person should do, assuming he's close to retirement, is there is something called Senior Citizen Savings Scheme, in which he can put 15 lakhs himself, he can put 15 lakhs for his wife. Then there is an LIC's Pradhan Mantri Varishta Yojana, which is again a pension plan, where again he can put about 15 lakhs each. So about 60 lakhs of his money can get invested here, and he will get approximately 8%, maybe slightly less, 7.9 or 8%. this will give him something like 4,80,000 rupees, which is about 40,000 rupees a month. This is assured, and this money will come to him, and this money will not fluctuate, nor will the principal fluctuate. Mutual funds are not a great place to put money to withdraw on a regular basis, except if you are putting into liquid fund or maybe even just ultra short bond fund, where the returns may not be too great. You will not get a 9%, 10% return and be allowed to withdraw 40,000 rupees a month. That kind of withdrawal is not going to be possible. So 60,000 rupees of yours goes into these 60 lakhs of yours goes into these two schemes, one in the name of the husband, one in the name of the wife, and your 40,000 per month is already met, and right now we are tax free. The remaining money you can put into a ultra short bond fund and a short term income plan and a long term income plan, and some money into equities. The equity fund you should not touch for maybe another 10 years. But the other funds you can start withdrawing maybe after 3-4 years, when the inflation takes a toll on this 40,000. This 40,000 you are getting from these government schemes, which is SCSS and the Varishta pension plan. From that you are getting a 40,000. After 3-4 years, that 40,000 may be short. That time you start withdrawing from your short term income plan or from your long term income plan. Don't touch it for at least 3 years, because after 3 years it gets favorably taxed. It gets taxed as a capital gain instead of as current income. So do that, and then use the equity money much later, maybe when you're 70, 75, you take some money from the equity fund and then put it into one of these ultra short bond funds or bond funds and start withdrawing from that. This is how I would plan, but I wish the numbers were, you've given us more numbers. But yeah, the first 60 lakhs of any retired person in India goes into these two schemes, for the husband and for the wife. For people with far greater risk taking ability, somebody who's got 10 crores, 12 crores, then you can skip these assets. But otherwise, for somebody having up to 3-4 crores, this asset makes a lot of sense. These are sensible government schemes where you will get your 8% assured. And if you have no other income, if you have a pension, then yes, maybe the amount that you put here can go down. But otherwise, no. Put 60 lakhs into these two schemes, and then put into ultra short bond fund, short term income fund, and long term fund, and some money in equity fund. Maybe an index fund will work for you.
All right. So I hope, Sridharan, that recommendation is something that you've taken note of and you could implement it. Let's move on and take on board our next query. It's coming in from MP Khanna from Kanpur. Thank you for joining in on the Money Show. What's your question?
Thank you very much. I want to know the name of two LELSS funds, wherein I am ready to invest about 1.5 lakh rupees.
Okay, you want to use that as a tax saving instrument. All right. Just some bit of homework for the benefit of Mrs. Subramaniam. Are you currently also investing in mutual funds?
No, madam.
Okay, so no mutual fund exposure at all. He wants to start perhaps by an ELSS, which will achieve both the objectives of tax and return. So how would you help him?
Yeah, I would suggest, say, an Axis Bank, Axis Mutual Fund ELSS, where he puts 12,500 per month. That will be 1.5 lakhs. If you want to split it into two, go for Axis and go for Nippon Tax Saver. I'm just picking two funds over 5-6 years. I think all funds will perform as well. So you can put into Templeton or Birla. I'm equally comfortable. But right now you put a gun on my head. These two funds is what I'll pick up, at least for the next 5 years. Do an SIP to the extent of 1.5 lakhs per year in both the funds put together, which means about 6,000 per month in each fund.
Okay, so I hope, Mr. Khanna, you've noted down those recommendations. Okay, Upendra Sharma has sent us a query right now. Is he joining us on the phone line, actually? Okay, it's an email query that we've received. He asks, are ULIPs better than mutual funds, PPF, or even a Sukanya Samriddhi scheme for my child? ULIPs essentially are mutual funds and insurance clubbed into one product. Mrs. Subramaniam, what's your view?
I don't think ULIPs are a good idea, because I do not know your time frame. And secondly, if the fund manager changes or things like that, that is still an irritant. You cannot change the fund. So this Sukanya scheme is good if you are looking at 8% return. But if you think you can get a higher return, there are enough child plans that you can take, but you can just go into a large cap fund. I don't know the age which you are saying. So if it's a 15-year thing, clearly look for a multi-cap fund which is large cap plus mid cap plus small cap, and that should do well. But remember, if you need the money after 15 years, from the 12th year onwards you start investing. Don't wait till the 15th year to start withdrawing.
Okay. Well, I suppose it's for his child, so I'm assuming that it would be at least 10
She's
to
3 years old, so 15 years.
15 years, yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, we cannot take any more calls, so we'll have to shut shop on our Ask the Money Show segment. Mr. Subramaniam, as always, a pleasure having you with us, and season's greetings in advance as well.
Thank you. Same to you. Happy New Year to all your viewers.
And we hope that you'll join us for more such
sure.
sessions in 2020 as well. Okay, well, on that note, we'll take a very short break, but when we return, Dhirendra Kumar of Value Research will be with us to share with us his outlook of what the mutual fund world will look like in 2020.